boxing has been an evolving sport ever since its creation. In the early days, it was crude, raw. The rules were not really formed yet. Gloves were considered dishonorable. Canvases were wood or dirt. And the fight wouldn't be over till there was only one man left standing. But what happens when you have two men refusing to go down, refusing to give up, giving every inch of their body to stay in the fight? Well, you get the longest boxing match that has ever happened, and more than likely will ever be. You get the brawl between Andy Bowen and Jack Burke. The fight would take place on April 6, 1893, in the city of New Orleans at the Olympic Club. This fight was part of a tournament to see who would hold the title, the belt, the lightweight of the South, and a large cash prize. How large of a cash prize? Well, at the time, it would be about $2,500, which in 2023 is about $80,000-ish. So for a boxer, and for most people, life-changing-ish money. And for those curious about the lightweight of the South belt, boxing wasn't completely uniform, nationally or internationally. For the most part, you had circuits or districts for boxing. So each district had their own ranking, the southern United States included. And in one corner, a favorite to win the fight, for he already had a decent boxing career, and held and defended a title already, the native to New Orleans, fighting on home turf, Andy Bowen. Fighting on home turf means a lot in a match. A little more fan base, a little more confidence, and a whole lot more pressure. Nobody wants to lose, and especially no one wants to lose in front of people you know. Andy himself was born May 3rd, 1867, and would be 26 when competing at this fight in the Olympic Club. And in the other corner, almost by fate or circumstance, was Jack Burke. Jack Burke was born January 1st, 1869, was 24 at the time of the competition, and wasn't the original opponent for Andy. Andy was supposed to be fighting the man Jack Burke was helping to train and to coach. And when that fighter pulled out of the fight, Jack stepped in. A title shot and a big cash prize? Hard to pass up on. Little, though, did either man know truly what they were signing up for. Each man weighed in at 134 pounds, a little under 61 kilograms. Gotta remember two things. It's the late 1800s. Malnutrition was basically common, so small fighters were basically everyone. And secondly, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight and the dog. Refereeing the fight would be John Duffy. The match would be 3-minute rounds, no round limit, and fought with gloves at the time, which were basically no thicker or better than modern driving gloves. Over 1,000 people gathered to see the fight, and at 9 p.m. at the Olympic Club in New Orleans, the first bell would ring, and the fight would begin. Both men would go back and forth, trading blows round after round, each of them knocking each other down onto the hard canvas, each boxer fighting tooth and nail against one another. The occasional knockdown would happen, but each of them would get up, dust themselves off, and get back into the fight. This would continue, again, round after round after round. By round 45, both boxers had broken hands, and yet they continued to fight. They have now been fighting for about 3 hours at this point. The match carried on, and was going farther and farther into the night, and beginning to stretch into the early morning. Crowd members were beginning to fall asleep in their chairs, for the fight had now stretched into the next day. As Andy and Jack continued to swing out each round, both fighters, refusing to give up, would keep fighting. Broken bones be damned. By round 105, basically no punch was being thrown due to their tattered bodies and broken hands. The fighters were just clashing into one another. By round 108, the referee John Duffy came to each corner and said to them that they have 2 more rounds to finish this bout, or he would call it no contest. In essence, a draw. It is now 4 a.m. The fight had started at 9 p.m. Both men stood in their corner and for 2 more rounds attempted to muster whatever they had left in the tank and continue to fight. At the end of those 2 more 3-minute rounds, neither fighter was able to stand in their corner. The referee called it. The match was a draw. Andy and Jack had been fighting for 7 hours and 19 minutes. Now, you may say the math does not add up there. 3-minute rounds, 110 rounds isn't... Now, you may say the math doesn't add up there. 3-minute rounds, 110 rounds isn't 7 hours. And you'd be correct. But don't forget about the time in between rounds, which is usually a minute rest, and the time if the doctor has to step in to patch up each fighter. Body bruised, broken bones, face bloody, Andy and Jack went the distance. They went the 7 hours and 19 minutes at 110 rounds. For those who've never been in a fight or know nothing about modern boxing, a long boxing match is 12 rounds at 3 minutes. These men went 110 rounds. The physical feat and how much effort it takes to be in a fight, how much endurance and willpower you have to keep pushing on round after round, is hard to put in words, let alone the words it takes to describe the effort and willpower to continue for 110 rounds. But now, what to do with the cash prize and title? The match is a draw, a conundrum for everyone involved. Steps in the referee once more, who recommends that the cash prize and the title be split and shared with both Jack and Andy. And that's what they did. Which, I personally don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, it's nice to walk away with something rather than nothing. But when you just gave up your body, heart, and soul, I imagine you'd want the whole thing. But I also imagine, at this point, both men probably didn't care and just wanted to sleep. With money and title in the hands of both men, they both went home to rest and recover. Jack Burke was bedridden for 6 weeks after that fight. Both fighters would recover. Each man would continue their boxing career and never fight each other again. Andy would continue on and fight Kid Lavagine in Andy's 27th fight, and in the 18th round of that fight would suffer a head injury when the Kid threw a blow, causing Andy to fall to the ground and bang his head on the wooden canvas floor. Andy wouldn't regain consciousness and would pass in the hospital the following morning. Andy died December 15th, 1894. As for Jack, he would have a few more fights and eventually hang up his gloves, and he himself would pass at the age of 44 on October 25th, 1913. Both of these men had hard lives, but their hard lives made them some of the toughest sons of bitches in the world. Even in today's society, with all our modern medicine, nutrition, and great athletes, the idea that someone could box for 110 rounds is unimaginable. Let alone how hard it is on the body, but imagine how hard it is on the spirit. To get up again and again, hands and body broken, so much so you can't even throw a punch, but to carry on anyway? The mental strength of these men, all I can say is bravo. That is the story of the longest boxing match in history. A record that will never be broken. 110 rounds in the town of New Orleans with 2 men who refused to stay down. And with that being said, thank you all for listening.